chance back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
Only by Paul Patella. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. He's have a shot.
Oh, what a goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley's defeat. I'm going to say poor showing, but that would be harsh. We were much better yesterday defensively in open play. But we'll get into all that. As you can see, I am joined by Sam East from the Clarets Roundup page. How you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. This camera's already winding me up, though, as I was saying off air. So apologies if you're watching on YouTube. It's gone back to its annoying ways of just freezing every 5 seconds after it's been fantastic for the last few months. So I will try and sort that out as the show goes on. So fingers crossed we do get that sorted out. But Sam, thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure. You can see that Neil's not here today. Unfortunately, Neil is ill. We're all very sad about it, but get well soon, Neil. It's nothing major. He's just eating something dodgy, he thinks. I won't go into what I suspect is coming out of both ends of Neil too much. But yeah, he's not well, so he'll be missing out this week. I'm sure he'll be back next week, even though there's obviously no game next week. We've already discussed in the WhatsApp group that we will be doing some stuff. Morning to everybody in the chat. Liam Beach is in the chat. He says, love the channel, lads. Great content. Cheers, mate. Massively appreciate that. Even with the dodgy camera, people still like the content. But it's all about me and you, innit, Sam, and Neil and Liam and Isaac and the people that we get on. It's all about us, innit? I think that's what people love.
I think they just think we're absolute characters, really, don't we?
Potentially, mate. That could be it. That could be it. I am here still at the camera. This would suggest it's completely gone. I'll change it to the other camera in a second. Everybody, don't worry. Jamesy lad says morning, Clarets. Morning, mate. Ginger Ali says hi, guys. Relegation beckons. Now, I don't necessarily disagree too much with you, Ali, but can we have a bit more positivity on a Sunday morning, please? Bit more positivity. Andy Benny says, morning, guys. Even if we're not good enough, we're at least improving slightly on the past few weeks. Agree with that. There's obviously still massive issues there. But yeah, I do agree with that. Groove Studio says, morning, Clarets. John Faulkner says, buongiorno, fellas. You're absolute somethings. Whatever you're trying to say, mate, I appreciate it. And Muzarmil, apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, mate. I'm sure I have. Says, morning, Clarets. Shattered from last night's travels. Think we played well despite our 18-yard box shenanigans. I'd say almost 6-yard box shenanigans, to be honest with you, Muzarmil. But thank you for the message, mate. And yeah, you deserve a medal for going down to Arsenal yesterday. And Ginger Ali is laughing at the fact that I said we could do with some more positivity. But Sam, a lot of people have said there in the comments that, you know, it was better. But obviously the defensive issues still remain. What are your thoughts on yesterday's match?
Yeah, a lot better. A team that finished second last season, a team that's been flying again this season. And we didn't make it easy for them like we have done in other games. So I suppose that is a positive. Wow, what a change.
It's horrible, this camera angle, isn't it? I hate it. But yeah, sorry, it's just going to have to be done for now. Sorry, go on, Sam.
That's all right, mate. No, and then like you say, defensively we are still shambolic. The goals that we conceded there's such pushover goals. It's so disappointing to see. I would much rather see us concede screamers every single week, like against Brentford, where we concede one against Emblemo and Godos. Like, I'd rather see that. I can't. Yeah. And I know people are calling out the set piece coach and things like that. And I understand why we're doing that, because we are conceding so many. But like, fundamentally, all he can do is set us up with a team. But look at our defensive line. Like, we're not a big side anymore. Like, we used to have Taki and Ben Mee and players that were really dominant in the box. We don't have that now. We have ball playing centre halves, and when they're in those situations, they're out of the comfort zone. So I think that's why we're conceding so many goals. The goals that we conceded the other day were poor. I mean, Saka has no right winning a header in the centre of the box against defenders.
That's the thing that annoys me the most about that goal, mate.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And then Trossard wins the resulting header as well against another defender, and I know he's ahead of him, but Saliba obviously is a big centre half, but it's just pointless. But yeah, a lot better, but it still just shows like where we are. Like, we don't have, like, I thought we were better from the perspective of we stayed in the game longer, and yet again it's like United, like, you're in the game and you're doing well and you're doing what we've wanted you to do all season, where we just want to get to half time 0-0, and then like you can see on 45th plus 1, it's like, come on, lads, like, just get to half-time once without giving us a mountain to climb every time. But 100% agree with people. The performance was a lot better.
It was better, and it was better from open play, wasn't it? I think that's the thing that we can all say. It's better from open play, but the defensive issues are still there, and that's the thing that annoys me the most. Before we get deeper into the conversation, I do just want to make a couple of announcements. As you can see from a T-shirt, and those of you that follow me on Twitter and stuff, obviously after Lyle's announcement this week with him struggling with his mental health, I decided to team up with Casual Minds Matter. They're a shop in Burnley Town Centre that experience, I'll just quickly get it on before the camera freezes again, in mental health and well-being to try and help out men and women, anyone struggling from any mental health issues. I'll just quickly get the piece of paper up again. I know I put it on my Twitter, but they have PTSD support groups, suicide awareness and prevention groups, anxiety awareness, anger management, and grief awareness. And these all, I'm showing you the page as if my camera's working. It's not. There it is. I'm sure. And these all, like that one there was on the 27th of October. So you might be looking at that thinking, oh, I've missed that. Don't worry. They all just keep running on. So after the next one, which will be now on the 17th, what date are we on? Yeah, the 17th. Then there's one on the 24th. These ones all start again and start again. So if you ever feel you need something or some help, just give them a call. And they have a 24-hour phone number as well, which I did post on my channel. It might be this one, 01282 2290. That is a phone number at the bottom of the sheet, but it doesn't say that one's 24 hours. They do have a 24-hour phone number. But if you do need more information, head to their website, which I think off the top of my head is just it's casualmindsmatter.com. So yeah, just thought obviously with Lyle's thing this week that we'd team up with somebody and try and push a message, because I just thought I don't do enough of that, to be fair, for the platform I've got. Not that I don't think mental health is important. I do. I just thought it's probably good to help push somebody that does quite a lot of stuff. And as you can see in the top right hand corner, we have a new logo. It says Wave Car Finance. We are partnered up with a local car company called Wave Car Finance, who obviously finance cars. That's a part of their thing. And I've teamed up with these, and these are going to sponsor the full-time show from now on. They've given us a script, they've given us logos, so you will see more of their stuff on the shows, on the full-time shows over the next couple of months at the very minimum. But yeah, I was a few months back, my car actually completely broke down, like just out of nowhere. Well, I say out of nowhere, there were signs, I just ignored them. But then completely broke down, and I had to go to Wave Car Finance with no deposit in a way, because this was meant to be my deposit for my next car, this car, and then it broke and it was completely worthless. And they sorted me out within like 3 weeks. Got me in a decent car for a decent price. Yeah, I'll be teaming up with them, and you'll see more of them. The camera's gone all together now, lads and lasses, so I will have to change that. But yeah, let's get back into it. We've mentioned how we were better in open play, Sam, defensively, and we were. But obviously, the main issues arose through set pieces, and there was some shocking defending from set pieces. But it wasn't just set pieces, because the first goal was a cross. Obviously, it's a similar kind of thing: set piece, corner, cross. But the issues were still there, weren't there? And it seemed a lot worse from set pieces this time.
Yeah, I think this is the. I mean, the thing is, without because like I say, I do want to caveat what I'm about to say with the fact that we did play better, but it's almost like this team has so many Achilles heels. Like, we concede from open play a lot. We concede from balls over the top. We concede with balls in behind. We concede with corners. We concede all over the shop. Like,
Yeah,
it's not one route thing, but the set pieces are a big part of it. And we said it last season as well. So my thing is, if we said at the start of last season that one of our biggest areas of improvement is set pieces, and then we go into a Premier League season and don't add any height, don't add any depth in defence, like, the same problems were going to happen, but against better players. So now we're in a position where you're coming up against William Saliba. He's beating every single player on our team to that ball in the box, like, and I just think it's one of those situations, a game where, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but you can only go back to recruitment, and recruitment so far, we haven't brought in players that go against our weaknesses, in my opinion. Like,
yeah.
Our biggest Achilles heel of all of them is set pieces, and we didn't add any height whatsoever to the team. We just added technical players that can play with the ball, but when the ball's in the air, you can't play with the ball. You have to get the ball out. You have to clear the ball, and we don't have the ability to do that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do something a little bit different this week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some screenshots of the goals, because I obviously can't show the goals, and I'd like to go through the goals. So I'm just going to bring in some screenshots of the goals. And while I'm doing that, it'll give me a chance to leave the room and come back in, so then you can't see me disappear. So here is the first one, Sam. We've mentioned it already. But Saka there in between Sanderberg, who played very well, I thought, but he should be winning that header there. So I know Charlie Taylor got a lot of stick from it, and those of you who were looking at it, I know some of you will be listening on the podcast, so apologies you won't be able to see this. But then you've got Sanderberg in front of Saka. Saka's got his hand on him. Not a foul. I'm just sort of like trying to refer to how you can see who he is. And then you've got Charlie Taylor in the back, who's being climbed on, and probably if you're nitpicking, that potentially could be. I'm not going to say for any shape or form that that's the reason why we conceded. However, like you said, Sam, there, Saka has no right to win that header. So you've got Saka winning that header there. You've got Trafford setting himself, probably because he's seen that Saka's about to win a header, to set himself to make a save there. So he does become a little bit flat-footed when the ball goes towards Dara O'Shea, and is it Trossard who gets the goal? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
When it goes towards Dara O'Shea and Trossard, and you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Dara O'Shea, who Trossard's then again got in front of Dara O'Shea, and you said, all right, fair enough, it was in front of him. If you look on that actual screen there at that moment, mate, he's not, and Dara O'Shea's caught ball watching. It's just poor all round from Burnley. It really, really is.
It's just, it's almost like decision making. Like, our decision making is it's not horrendous, but when we get into the defensive side of the game now, like, it's so poor. Like I mean, for example, right, and this is just my opinion, but just look at that defending. Like, you've got Luka, who he's just kind of stood around. You've got Sanderberg going up for a header, which he should win, and a little nudge in the back by someone who's like 5'6" should not off balance you that much. That one at the back stick, in my opinion, on the still image, looks like a foul on Charlie Taylor, but he doesn't play the ball, so you can't give that. It's flat-footed. You've got three defenders ball watching. Like, it's just poor. How many players have they got in the box compared to us? And they have three players more advanced than us. Like, why are we not deeper? Why are we not looking at the fact that, okay, we don't have the right amount of height, so we either need to play a high line and catch them offside, or we need to drop back deep and just throw bodies at the ball. Like, and we're now in a position where that, to me, looks like 3v3, and none of those players look switched on at all. Charlie Taylor looks like he's getting wrestled to the floor. And how Dara O'Shea doesn't see that run. Like, I know, but then again, turning around to Dara O'Shea saying that, three men just ball watching. Give him a shout. I can guarantee no one there is looking at the run of Trossard. Nobody. So, as much as I do think Dara probably is at fault at that, no one. It looks to me currently like no one's even giving him a shout that he's running in behind. So
yeah, I agree. I guess we'll never know whether he's given a shout or not. I think for me, I think all three of them, Trafford got a lot of stick for that. I'm going to say all four, but I don't think Trafford can do.
no.
He could probably be a little bit more switched on and maybe not set himself if you're being proper nitpicker. But a lot of people gave Trafford a lot of stick for that there. And I think the three ahead of him are all more at fault than he is for that one.
That's what we've been arguing though for the last few weeks. Though is like, so at one point there was a genuine shout for Muric. There was a genuine shout for Muric because James Trafford wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He wasn't collecting crosses. His distribution was poor, and we were conceding left, right, and centre. There is a lot more ownership now, in my opinion, on the defence because the goalkeeper is making saves. He's making plays. Like my shout for Muric was to try something different. My shout for Muric was never James Trafford's rubbish, get him out of goal. My shout with it was we have to try something, and I do feel like we are lacking from back to front. Whereas now my opinion's completely changed. Like James Trafford's making some brilliant saves, and he is getting himself, he is adhering himself to certain fans. I know certain fans, go back to the same opinions and stick with it all season, and can't change. Like my thing with it is, he wasn't at fault for a lot that happened yesterday. And for the last kind of 2 or 3 weeks, I don't think he's really been at fault. I think that defence puts him in some of the worst situations he can be in as a goalkeeper. And he's still pulling off pretty decent saves. But when you have 17 shots on target per game, you're going to concede 3 or 4 goals. It's not his fault that his defence literally allow teams to win headers in box, take shots from edge at box, like get into the box, like. My ownership now has gone onto that defence because that defence, in my opinion, we've seen some brilliant Burnley teams in the past, and last season's Burnley team was absolutely fantastic. And I feel like this team, we are so much worse. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it at the start because we're still trying to, figure out what it is. It is the defence. We've spent so much money on wingers. We're now in a position where we don't have a steady defence. We've got Bayer and a kid at centre-back. Like, let's be real. Al Dakhil should not play Premier League football. He's 19. He should be given time to bed his way into the team. Then you've got Ekdal. He's injured, so who knows? When he comes in, we might solidify ourselves a bit more. I think Vitinho has been absolutely fantastic for us.
Last couple of games, he's been brilliant, yeah.
Exactly. He's a lot more expansive. He can, the defensive side of the game, okay, fair enough, but like, we're going to concede 3 or 4 goals with that defence, regardless whether Vitinho's there or Connor Roberts is there. So I'd rather have somebody who's a little bit more progressive going forward. Charlie Taylor's been brilliant as well recently. Like, I mean, I know there's odd games where, you make a quick mistake like Bournemouth, but he's been relatively consistent. But I just think that defensive unit together doesn't work. Individually, they're all pretty decent players, but I just don't think it works as a unit. And I feel like I say, hindsight, you go back to the transfer window, we spent £110 million. We've bought Dara O'Shea, who, I'm not being funny, but again, he's been thrown into a pretty tricky situation because he's going into a defensive line that has no consistency and he's leaking goals left, right, and centre. And I wouldn't just put it down to him. And then you've got Delcroix, who cost £1 million, who was just bought as a panic buy because we didn't have as many centre backs or defenders as we wanted. Like, so now we're in a position where we're looking at that £110 million and saying we couldn't even really score goals a couple of weeks ago. Now we're leaking goals in left, right, and centre. We need defenders. Like, we need solid defenders, big defenders, people that are going to change the game. And I think recruitment's not been great, but that is the thing that's letting us down at the moment. That defence. And James Trafford can hold his head up high the last few weeks. I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah, I thought he played well yesterday. We'll get on to the second and third goals in a minute, where I do think more of him to blame, but it's not just him again. I left a comment on screen for a bit there from Solid Clarets. He says, "Isn't Saka jumping with Bayer and Burge over to the left?" And after looking at the picture again, I'll just quickly bring it back on screen. Yeah, it is that. I'm circling it as well. You can all see it, but Saka's in between. But yeah, the point still stands as a unit. I weren't digging out any players. I was just saying as a unit. You mentioned there, Sam, as well. As a unit, we're not good enough. Why do you think it is? Because individually, they're all half-decent players. Do you think we just need better players, or do you think it's the system? Because we changed the system slightly yesterday. I'll say slightly, quite dramatically, actually, in terms of the actual formation. but the same problem still persisted. So what do you do differently?
So I think because I really don't like being that fan that goes back to what came before. But that defensive line of Loughton, Tarkowski, me, Charlie Taylor, right? That is a defensive line that would literally just mop anything that goes into the box. It's gone. It's pointless. You're not going to play into the box against Burnley because Tarky's going to win every header. Ben Mee's going to win every header. Like, they were clever centre backs as well, so they would always be able to drop deep or press up if they needed to. The area where they struggled was little balls in behind, but it's so much more difficult to play through a team than it is to just lump a ball into the box and hope someone wins an header. Like, because you can put the ball in a dangerous area and it can drop to anybody. Like, that's what teams are doing to us now because we don't have the personnel to be able to deal with it. Like, I think the thing for me is if we had, let's say, sorry, something in my throat. If we had Kouyaté from Metz, right, and we managed to sign him, the 6'3" centre back, who's got a bit of pace about him and he's shown a bit of quality playing for Metz. I think if we had him, I think the team looks a little bit better. In my honest opinion, I just think we need a towering centre back who is able to mop up, play it to Bayer and let Bayer play out. Like, what we have now is too many technical players. And like I say, even with Al Dakil as well, like Al Dakil's got the potential to be a very, very good centre back. But right now he's not there.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, he's not there. And that's the side of it that we need that needs addressing. Like, then what do you change? Well, after the international break, you've got an international player in Hjalmar Ekdal. Like, please just try it. I just want to see if he's burnt for pace for 2 straight weeks, then you can turn around and say, well, nothing's going to work then because that's all we've got at his disposal now. Nothing's going to work. I just want to see it. I just want to see Ekdal, Bayer, Vitinho, Taylor, and I just want to see that defence tried out one time. I don't even mind leaving Trafford in goal now. Like, I'm past that now because he's redeemed himself from the poor distribution. Doesn't seem like he's talking, not collecting crosses. He's redeemed himself from that because he's now doing better at all of those things. So he's playing his way in, from my opinion, he's playing his way into being that number one goalkeeper now. It's a shame for Muric because I do still think he could do a job. But right now, Trafford's not the problem. Like, the problem is the defence. And I think the reason, going back to what you said, I think the reason for it is we don't have personnel that can deal with the goals that we're conceding. We're not getting played around because we have faster defenders. We have more intelligent defenders now. But the way that we are conceding is like, go back to Brentford, 2 goals from outside the box. Defensively lax. Against Palace, they were all just silly mistakes, which is all coming from the defence again. So they all have a mistake in them as well. Even Bayer now, we've seen that. Even going back to like United, like it's a ball over the top from Johnny Evans. Bayer's caught flat-footed, doesn't press his man, and Bruno Fernandes hits it on the volley. Same again in this game. Like, the ball's come into the box. Bayer's jumped to Bukayo Saka of all players, lost out to a header, and then Trossard's got Dara O'Shea flat-footed and just nodded it in. Like, we don't have players that can cope with that kind of attack, and clearly that is going to cost us now because teams now can see Burnley can concede from in the nicest possible way as well. Because I don't just want to just like fully go in on the team because, like I say, there is positives to take, and we probably will move on to that. But right now, we can concede from any type of football. Like, any team can come to us, and we can get caught in behind. We can get caught from corners. We can get caught from crosses. Like, we can get caught from shots from outside the box. Like, there is currently no way that we can't concede in games, and it is really disappointing to see because, like I say, last season I thought it was one of the best Burnley teams I've ever seen, and this season it's like I cannot believe the transition from that team to this team because this team is a million times worse. I'm sorry to say that because I don't like to just be negative, but it's a million. If you put that team next to this team, it's a million times worse.
I agree, to be fair. I think if last season's team played this season's team, last season's team would win and probably pretty comfortably. They'd just strangle the life out of them, pass them to death. and or just I'm going to say pump some balls into, but we never really did that last season. But we'd have Barnsley, so we could go to that and do that last season. Ginger Ali says, I want that t-shirt, Joe. How do I get one? I'm not sure where you're based, mate, but if you're based in Burnley, there's a shop in the town centre called Casual Minds Matter. Just go into there. They sell them in there. That's where I got mine from. Only 15 quid, and all profits go straight to helping out the mental health and well-being side of the organisation. If you're not based in Burnley, mate, just go on to casualmindsmatter.com/shop or /shop. Just go on to casualmindsmatter.com and there's a thing at the top saying shop. You will be able to find it on there. We spoke briefly about Trafford there, mate, and you did say sort of like he's doing better at things like that. I'll just bring in the second goal. Now, I appreciate this is a bit zoomed out. Don't worry, I've got better versions in a second. But this is the second ball. Saliba's directly in front of Trafford there. Trafford got even more stick for this one, saying he should be commanding his area a bit more. And I do think there is an element of that. But I'll just quickly bring in the next screenshot. This is, I don't know why it got to give us a quick flash of me and you then. But this is as the corner's being taken. So you can see why. I think the main reason why this goal is scored against us is because we have the brainwave of having Zeki Amdoune, Mark Williams, Saliba. I think that's the reason why we concede this goal personally. Whether a lot of people have been saying we now use zonal marking rather than man-to-man. Either way, it's ridiculous because if you're doing man-to-man and saying to Zeki, you get on Amdoune, just like, I mean, it's a bit different for the Everton match because it was Cullen on Tarkowski, but it was a cross. This one's an actual corner, so you have a chance to set yourself. This time they've gone, you Mark Saliba, one of the smallest men on the pitch. But you can see, and again, sorry, I can't point to it with my mouse because it's just an image. But you can see, obviously, there, just to the right-hand side of the picture, is Zeki Amdoune on the 25 on his back. You could just see Saliba there poking through the side of him there. That's how the corner's being taken, and this is literally 5 seconds later. You've got Saliba in front, the ball's landing on his head. Trafford's just stuck there, nowhere to go because Saliba's gone in front of him. I think that for me, this one, Zeki Amdoune needs to stick with his man better. I do think Trafford needs to be stronger because, as I'll show later in the third goal, because he sees a man coming, he pushes him out of the way. But with this one, he just comes on the blind side of him because obviously I can't show the image, but if you watch it, the picture, sorry, but if you do watch it, you can see that Saliba comes on Trafford's right-hand side. So he basically runs in the net and then runs in front of him. Zeki Amdoune is not tracking his man properly. I do think Trafford should be a little bit stronger, but it's in that moment where he's all of a sudden he's there and bang, it's a goal. He doesn't have time to react. The entire system, again, is the reason why we concede that goal for me. What are your thoughts, mate?
Go back to the first image.
That one?
Second image. My apologies.
TV.
So
there you go.
Look at how many players are on the right-hand side of Trafford. Then go to the third image. Mate, they've all moved over to the left-hand side, and there's not a single one of them off of the floor. Nobody's challenging that header. Everyone's followed the men all the way along, and not a single one of them is challenging the ball. Amdoune's in the goal for some reason, so he's clearly ran around the back of Trafford.
Well, that's what Saliba did, didn't he? So I think he just followed Saliba. Saliba ran round the back and into the net. So I think he just shit himself.
This is my
followed
thing,
Saliba, and then he's already in front of him before Zeki's got any chance to do anything. But
this is my point though. Like the ball's coming in, and yes, Trafford could be a little bit more, on the ball to Saliba's coming or get in front. But mate, everyone's moved from the right-hand side over to the left-hand side. There's not a single one challenging the ball in any of that. Not a single one of them is off the floor trying to win that header because no one's actually, like, if that is zonal marking, which it completely looks like, that is absolutely horrendous because all they've done is move from one side to another and someone's jumped up in air and won an header, and not a single person's even challenged it. If you can't do zonal marking, don't do it. As much as I do think Trafford could command his box better there's 6 Burnley players around the same man, and not a single one of them's even off at floor. If you're at least going to do zonal marking, at least make sure that you're doing it properly. What is Zeki Amdoune doing behind the line in the goal? You're not going to do anything from there. I know you could argue, if Saliba does win the header and he blocks it off the line, brilliant. But I don't understand how everybody can be on right-hand side at box and all end up on left-hand side and everyone's still turning around and go, bloody hell, Saliba's up there. Like, challenge the ball. Like, your defenders, look at the ball, read the flight of the ball, and if it's not your man, it isn't your man because you're not doing man-to-man marking, you're doing zonal marking. So where's your zone? Get in it, jump at least, or try and put him off. Like that, exactly that. We have too many lightweights in the team. Nobody's taking ownership of anything. Nobody's looking at the situation and going, right, we need to watch William Saliba, a big towering centre-back, because we're not a big team. As much as I appreciate what you're saying, mate, and I do get what you're saying about Trafford, that is not on Trafford. Like, that is such
I agree it's not on him. I just think he could do better as well.
He's a part of it, but like, to people that would be saying that, that is such a weak argument. Like, we conceded a corner with 7 defenders in box and the goalkeeper's to blame. Like, what are you on about? Like, there's 7 other blokes that could have won that ball and not a single one of them challenged for it. So just because Trafford's not come out, punch the ball away, the bloke's already in the air by the time Trafford's even seen where the ball's going. Like, we need defenders that need to be able to command their box. They need to be able to have a system, play it. And this goes back to the conversation about the set piece coach, because that doesn't work now. You've seen it now. It doesn't work. Zonal marking doesn't work. We don't have the personnel for zonal marking, so don't do it. Like, man to man, get your centre halves on their centre halves, get your big players on their big players. Sander Berge goes against Declan Rice, stops him pushing the keeper around, because at the start as well, that's one of the biggest things. I play Saturday League football. There is no way that any striker or centre back or big tall CDM is pushing my goalkeeper around. Not a chance, because if Declan Rice is in the way of Trafford right from the get-go and then he makes his move and I'm not doing anything about it, I would 100% take on the chin that, lads, he's on my feet. Like, someone's shoving me around and none of you are helping me because you're zonal marking. Like, honestly, I'd get laughed off at pitch if I were like, mate, I'm just zonal marking. I'm zonal marking. Like, I'm watching front stick. Honestly, I get back in the changing room and I get rinsed for that. So as much as I appreciate people thinking that Trafford is to blame, that is a weak argument to go with that.
No, I agree. I feel like I said on Twitter, like, the unit should be doing better for that. The entire defensive unit should be doing better. Stu Kill goes into more details about the actual system that we're using, where he says it's a hybrid of man-to-man and zonal. Where apparently we have 4 zonal and the rest are man-to-man, but the strongest headers are the zonal ones. So that explains. I can't work out, like I said earlier, whether we are zonal or whether we are man-to-man. But if it's a hybrid system, then that would probably explain why I can't work it out. I do want to bring in another picture before we get into the comments again, because a lot of people, like I said, were criticising Trafford, saying he never does anything. This is the 3rd goal. All right, we ended up conceding the 3rd goal, but look how he's pushing. Is it Trossard? He's pushing. It's not Trossard. He's Tomiyasu, that's right. Yeah, he's pushing somebody away, so he's capable of doing that. So people sit there and say, "Oh, he never does anything. Like, he should be pushing his man away." He is. That's an example. All right, he conceded it. We ended up half defending it, and then obviously Zinchenko scored a Di Canio with a bicycle kick. Too much time on the edge of the box again. But Trafford here is pushing the defenders away because he actually has time and there isn't a mess in front of him. So I think this image shows that Trafford is capable. All right, I still believe, in my opinion, Muric will be better at this side of the game, but it shows here that Trafford is capable of doing it.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like, and I think it's one of those arguments that you can have though, where like I mean, we've had the argument, like, is Muric better? Is Trafford better? Like I said, the only thing that's changed in the last couple of weeks is I think Trafford's getting better in the areas that people are saying he wasn't good at. I think his distribution is getting a little bit better. I still think he dwells on the ball a little bit, but that can still be taught, and we gave Muric time for things like that. So my thing is, the reasons for him coming out are now not as severe or dramatic as they were. I feel like, without getting into a big song and dance about Trafford, I do think that Trafford is now not the problem. Like, you know, I do think he still has flaws, and do I think Muric should still do potentially a better job now? In my opinion, still, yeah. But it's not big enough now for me to be like, nah, Muric in, get Trafford out. Because if Trafford's in the starting lineup again next week, or not next week, because we're international break, the week after, I'm not like, oh, not again, like I was, because that's now changed. I do think he's commanding his box a little bit better. But the thing that we also need to take into consideration as well and again, it comes from the higher ups, not the players necessarily. We've bought a child to go in goal. Like, we've bought a 19-year-old kid who's played League One football to go in goal, and we are now sticking with him what looks like through an entire Premier League season. So when these things come out, these aren't necessarily flaws in his game. This is just the ability that he has right now. He's 19. He's not a huge, tall goalkeeper. He's a goalkeeper that was playing under 21s, World Cup games, Euros games for England, but he's also playing against kids, like other people his age. And then when you're playing in League One, the standard is so much worse. Like, in comparison to playing in the Premier League, it's ridiculously worse. Like, people, it's just mad, and people need to now that the dramatic and drastic things of Trafford's game have kind of ironed out slightly. We need to then look at the fact that he is still 19 now. He is still, he might be 20, whatever. He is still a kid, and there is areas in his game that just aren't there yet. Because Muric was rubbish at 19 in the nicest possible way. Muric at 19 at Forest was rubbish. He was terrible, and now he looks like a man in goal. Trafford still looks like a boy in goal, and we need to give him some kind of leeway in that sense, because he hasn't, and he doesn't even look like he's grown into his man's body yet. And that's it sounds stupid, but that is the thing. Like, so then that comes from the higher ups. Like, we haven't gone and bought like a commanding goalkeeper like Bournemouth did when they went. Who they signed? They've signed. Is it AC Milan's backup keeper, that Radu?
I'm not sure, mate.
Well, they've gone and signed like a man who can play in goal. Like, what we've got is a kid, and you saw it with Ramsdale at Sheffield United. You saw it with Ramsdale at Bournemouth. You've seen it with Banzu at Southampton. Like, I think it's Banzu, but whatever. These young goalkeepers have signed for teams, and the same issues will be there. Southampton now have a good goalkeeper in the Championship, but they were conceding goals left, right, and centre. Like, same happened with Bournemouth. Aaron Ramsdale's gone to Arsenal, but now he looks like a bloke. Like, when he played for them Sheffield, 2 back-to-back relegations, like, he's still a kid at that point. And I do think there is a downside to having a kid in goal. And that does come from the higher ups, though, because you've spent 19 million quid on that. So
yeah. As Muzamil says, again, apologies, mate, probably butchered that. Even if Trafford is still a buy in goal, why buy him in the first place for 19 million? It's obviously resale. It's the resale aspect. I think we've looked at that transfer window and gone, how can we make money? I think that's the problem with that transfer window. We've looked at it and gone, who can we buy now and sell on for profit in 3-4 years' time? And I genuinely believe we will sell Trafford on for profit, because he will get better. He will become he probably already is, but our 100% number one, everyone agreed eventually, whether that's in the Championship or we stay up, he will be that. And then in a few years' time, either City come back in and spend 60 million on him, or somebody else comes back in if City don't want him back. So I do think we'll buy him back. But you mentioned there, coming from the higher ups, do you think that's a fair assessment of the transfer window, Sam? We've not really looked at what the squad needed. We've looked at what we can sell on in a couple of years.
Yeah, like, to be fair, 100%. Like I say, hindsight is a beautiful thing. Like, you can turn around now, and like I say, I'm also one of those people that said it was 100% 10 out of 10 window, because at the time it was. We bought wingers, and Burnley always wanted wingers, but now you look back and we need a defence. We don't have that. We need a strong central midfielder so that we can put Sander Berge in the 10. Like, we don't have that. We need another striker currently. We don't have that. We just have lots and lots and lots of wingers. And, for me, and it's not right. So it's no disrespect to signing Ramsey, and it's no disrespect to signing Odebear, because now that they're there, you still love them because they play for Burnley. Like, you still support them. But they, for me, are two of the most pointless signings that we've made, because Ramsey don't play ever, and he gets 5-minute cameos at the end of the game. And yes, okay, brilliant. We've signed him for whatever amount of money. If he does become good, in 2-3 years' time, Aston Villa can buy him back for 25-30 million quid. I already thought that was weird. I know people will talk about it differently. I don't like buyback clauses. If you're buying a player, I'd like to buy the player. I don't want to buy the player and then worry that he could get bought back another time. But then Odebear as well, like Odebear doesn't make the starting 11. So why spend 13 million quid on somebody that doesn't make sense? But Masengo's not the most pointless because he was free and we needed the position. That's a sensible transfer, just like Nathan Redmond was a sensible transfer. He was free. It's a no-brainer to go and buy those players. Like,
yeah,
spending 13 million quid on a player that's not playing every single week when you play for Burnley, like that's madness. Like 13 million pound, he's on the bench. Tresor's 15, 18 million pound, he's on the bench. Like we don't have the financial capabilities that, regardless of how well we did and we've won the championship and we're in the Premier League now with Premier League money, we still 110 million pound. That's a lot of money to not actually have players that fundamentally fit the system and play right now. And for example, with Wilson Odebear, we spent 13 million pound on him. You tell me if he's performed anywhere near more than 13 million pound. You tell me. And if anybody in the comments or you, Joe, think that he currently
not to that level, no,
more money than that 13 million quid.
No, and he's another one though that you look at him and you think we've signed him for resale value. He's only 18 as well. Like all of these players that we've signed are kids who are going to be good in a few years, but right now they're not justifying that. That's what I'm saying about the transfer window. They're not justifying that price tag because that is not why they spent that money on them. No. They spent that money on it to think, right, 13 million now, 30 million in a few years, let's get him in. We might reap the rewards of it in 3-4 years and we might have loads of money and end up, doing a Brighton and pushing for the league. But right now it's obviously not helping us in the current situation that we're in.
No, I think that's the thing that is the area that bothers me slightly, is because even though and like I said, like I knew there'd be comments like that. Like I'm not saying that Wilson Odebear is not a good player. Like Wilson Odebear is a good player, but we didn't need to spend 13 million pound on him now. We didn't need to do that. Like what we've done is we've gone and bought a player on a premium price because of his age and the league that he played in. He'd just been relegated with Troyes, and we've gone and spent 13 million pound on him, but we don't need him. Like realistically, like if you turn around to me now and say, do we need him? No. So that's 13 million pound we could have saved and bought a centre half. Like, do we need Aaron Ramsey? Well, we've got Sander Berge, we've got Josh Brownell, and we've got Masengo. If you just have that midfield kind of quartet of players that can just interchange and play in different roles, and Berge can drop deep sometimes, Masengo can fill in. We haven't even seen him yet. We don't even know if he's even in company's plans, because Masengo's not even, has he even touched the pitch yet? Like,
didn't he come on against Everton? I've seen him play, but not a cameo.
What a game to come into! Like a game where we couldn't even control it in a cup game. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so some of the money that we've spent doesn't make sense to have bought players in the positions that we bought them in. Because, like I say, Aaron Ramsey, like we've got Amdouni, we've just spent like 18 million quid on him. Is he a number 10? People are saying he is. So surely he's a player that you start in the 10. Oh well. Amdouni now seems like he's a striker, or sometimes he's a winger, and he's not played in that 10 role. And to be fair, over the last couple of weeks, he's been quite disappointing. So then you go and change it. Sander Berge should be able to go into that 10 role, but we can't because we don't have another DM. So this is my issue. Like, if we lose any of our wingers, there's 8 players waiting in the wing to go and get there. If we lose players in any other position in that team, nobody that fills in that role, in my opinion, should play there. And that's the fundamental issue that I think we've got. I don't think we've recruited very well. I don't think we've looked at the areas that we needed. Obviously, we've lost Howard Bellis and we lost a left back. We didn't buy a left back, and the 2 centre halves that we bought was £1 million from Anderlecht, who was just a panic buy really, and Dara O'Shea, who, to be fair, on paper, I still back is the correct type of signing that we should have made, but he hasn't hit the ground running either. And now what we're doing is the players from last season that we bought for like Al-Dakhil for £5 million, we're now trying to invest in him because we spent money on him in the past. And he's not working either. So my kind of thing is, like,
I don't even think Bayer's working that much at the minute in this.
I don't. And it's so weird to say, because like you don't want to go in on everybody, but you are right. I don't think anybody in the team right now really, other than maybe Charlie and maybe Luca, can get away with a pass in certain games. Like Luca because he creates, but his end product's not brilliant, but he does create. And, you know, Charlie, because I do think he's quite solid. I do think he's quite, and I do think he is the perfect player to have in at left back right now. But I don't think anyone's safe at the moment. I don't think Cullen is safe in centre midfield. Oh, yeah, Foster. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, Lau Foster, obviously. Like, you know, the bloke's been unbelievable this season. And, you know, he's made a lot of people eat humble pie, me included. I didn't think in the Championship he looked that good. And I also said from what I'd seen, I didn't think he'd transition that into the Premier League. What that then showed is Kompany isn't an idiot. Get the training sessions in and work with the team. And it does work. And he does look a fantastic player. And obviously, just to round that off, he does look... you know, I wish him absolutely all the best in his recovery, and I hope he comes back soon because he's a vital part to what we're trying to do. Sander Berge as well, brilliant point. Easily been one of our best players. He's gone from being one of our worst signings at the start of the season in those first 3 games, but playing in a role that he didn't really know, not getting very much in, didn't have a lot of time to transition into the position, to actually being a fundamental part of the team. And I do think he looks a great player. But I still want to see him in that 10 role. Like he has been good in the 6, but we don't have the personnel to get him there.
I agree, and that I want to talk about this, so that's why I just stopped you. I do want to ask about this because I agree with you. Sander, when he first started playing DM, I didn't rate him. He gave the ball away too much. He dallied on the ball. His passes were dreadful. He's getting better. He's looking more like that role can be his role, but I would still rather see him further forward and have maybe Cullen and Brownhill or maybe even Masengo in the back. Masengo maybe not yet, maybe in a bit. That's what I would do. But there's a few people on Twitter now saying that they prefer the Berg, Brownhill, and maybe an Amdouni in the 10 or something like that. What would you do after the international break? Are you bringing Cullen back in and still shoving Berge further forward, or are you keeping it Berge, Brownhill, and then another in the 10?
To be fair... It's such a hard one, though, isn't it? Because it's like, I personally probably would keep it the same now. I probably would, because I think what a pointless thing to do is get Sander Berge playing 3 brilliant games in DM and then turn around and go, right, try the 10 role. Because then if that doesn't work, then you end up with that other situation where everyone goes, well, I told you, he can play the 6. It's like, if you're a left back by trade and you play a full season at right back, by the time you go to the next season, you probably would rather play right back than go back to left back because you've been playing right back all season. So playing so many games in DM and then being told, oh, Cullen's back now, you're in 10. Like, he'd be like, what? Like, I've played all right there. Like, okay, now it's a different side of the game. I don't need to be as strong in tackles. I need to be in the box, making a nuisance of myself. And what we need is consistency now. We need to stick with a team. The tinkering needs to stop. We've said that for a while now. And I think even though it might be seen as a slight tinker with moving Berge from behind to, you know, a more attacking role, I just think it's counterproductive now. Like we just need to, I'd rather go down seeing the same team playing the same position or bringing different players in that suit different games. Like, for example, go back to the Ashley Barnes against Blackburn game. Like, Barnes had no right playing in any game up until that point. And the second I saw him on the team sheet, I was like, we need that. Someone who's just going to throw the body around and you know, make a nuisance of himself. And that's what we needed in that game. That's where, like we said a few weeks ago, Aaron Ramsey could play that 10 role. But in games where you really need somebody to be strong and win the ball, they're the games for Sander Berge. That's the type of tinkering that I'm talking about. Not he's in DM for 3 weeks, then put him in the 10. Then when we inevitably get another red card, somebody else floats over to left back and plays there, and then chopping and changing. You might as well just, you know, we might as well have bloody Jay Rodriguez playing in goal next week just to try it out. Like, I just think we just need a bit of consistency now, and I think that will work. I do think the tactics that Kompany got yesterday were really good. I think, you know, it almost kept us in the game for longer, and I thought, from open play, like you say, we were a lot better. We were creating chances. And I think, you know, even that Goodmanson chance in first half, we were unlucky not to, you know, to score there. So
decent effort, that, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. And it was a good save as well, because that's next in the bottom corner.
He's done well to get that. He's done well to actually get the shot away, because he's under pressure.
He is.
So he's done quite well to get the shot away. I will very quickly because I did take a screenshot of that, but I thought we won't talk about that. But I'll just very quickly bring it in. Just to try and be, just to keep with this thing. It's just taking forever to load now. It's typical. But there we go.
I'm feeling a long show today anyway. I like it.
Oh yeah, right. Fair enough. My son can starve. But look, he's done well here. Like, look, he's got 3 defenders around him. I saw some people criticising him, saying he should have scored. That is a ridiculous statement. Like, he's done very well to still have the ball in that position. My only gripe when I look at this screenshot, and I never ever thought this until I saw this screenshot, and obviously pictures are different. You can look at this and have 5 seconds to say, look at Ray's positioning. Maybe he should have gone the other side. Which, looking at that, I think maybe he should have gone the other side. But you would never ever do that as a footballer in that moment, where you always go across the goal and hope that maybe somebody like Zeki Amdouni, who's all the way on the edge of the D, would be there and just to tap it in. But for me, I think he's done well. It's a good save by Raya more than anything else. Because even there, like, the foot's halfway between Yohan and Raya. Raya's still on his feet. Raya does very well to get down and save that from there. That reaction seconds must be like less than 1 second there. It must be like 0.7, 0.6, something like that. It's a good effort from Yohan.
It's very good keeper positioning as well. Like,
yeah,
he's come to meet the ball as well. He's closed the angle so much that yes, the left hand side of the goal is a little bit more open, but he's done very, very well there to get out as far as he has done, because he's closed the angle down fantastic.
Yeah, he has.
And it gives Goodmanson a split second to make a decision where to go. It was the right decision, to be fair, because that is nestling in the bottom right corner. But it is just a good save. The argument that people will have is Amdouni. I whilst I appreciate it, and I do think we should be switched on, he should be switched on to getting the ball. In fairness, Goodmanson wins the ball in a position where we were on our way back to defending.
Yeah, I agree.
So it probably was a case of Goodmanson's won it, just have a go, rather than turning around and being like, should Amdouni have got up with him? Like, we were transitioning back to defence, so I won't read too much into that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Fair enough. It's a good save from Raya. Just when you look at the screen, he's done well to get over to our right-hand side, looking at that, his left-hand side as well. Like I say, he's closed the angle down brilliantly. He's done very well to get out. So no qualms from me from JBG there with that one. You've mentioned Amdouni there, and I saw a comment about a minute or two ago. There it is from Ryan Merton. He says, thoughts on Amdouni? I think he looks very clumsy to me. And now I think there's been a lot of issues where he's lost possession or he's lost the ball, and then we've ended up having to transition back to defence when we're in attack, and then we're under the cosh. He's a talent. He's obviously a talent, but I agree with the clumsy side of it. There was a moment in the first half where we had, I think it was another corner, and again, I'm pretty certain I took a screenshot of this, so I'll try and bring it in, where we had a corner, and instead of clearing it, it's here. Instead of clearing it, he decides to try and run out with the ball, and then Saka has that shot, and that's when Trafford made that really good save. To then, which I said, Trafford's playing really well, probably man of the match performance. And then everybody from other pages, other podcasts, like, well, that's aged well, hasn't it? Like, obviously, I can have an opinion during the match and things can change. But this is, I think, what Ryan's talking about. There's other issues as well, but the main one for me from Amdouni yesterday was this. Like, why is he trying to run with the ball there? He literally just gives it to Saka. Saka has a shot on target, and forces Trafford into a good save. If we'd conceded there, I would have been absolutely spitting.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think the thing for me is with Amdouni, I think he's actually plonked in the role that is the hardest role to play in our team at the moment, because we either playing on the wings or we kind of lump the ball up and hope for the knockdowns. We don't really play through Amdouni in that 10, and whoever's in that 10 role, I don't think we play through them. I think we kind of play. Oh no. We don't play to them, sorry. We kind of play through them. And when I say that, I mean, like, almost completely miss them out. Not even like you give him the ball and he creates, which, playing through them normally means. We actually play past him. He's not really played to his strengths in that 10 role. He's got quick feet. He can get out of tight situations. He can work a shooting chance pretty well. I don't think we play to those strengths. I think one of the last times we saw that was the Forest game where he scored. Yeah. And in that role, playing that type of way was Aaron Ramsey's shot against Man United. they're the only 2 occasions where I can remember we've played to the strengths of that number 10 position with those types of players, because we don't play through, like we don't play to them or through them. We just play past them. And I think that's the hardest position to play in our squad at the moment. When Sander Berge is there, it's different, because if you're lumping the ball up, he's a big lad. So he can win the knockdowns. He can throw himself around. He's not necessarily there to be played up to anyway. You know, he's there to just win knockdowns and make a nuisance of himself. So whilst I do agree, I do think that that's the hardest position in our team to play at the moment, because striker-wise, we are almost non-existent without Lyle, in the nicest possible way. I don't even mean any disrespect to Jay. I really don't, but we don't play to him either. We play to the wings, and then then we get lost and go back. So it's not necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily. I do agree with the clumsiness. I do agree. That in the box was silly, pointless.
Yeah, definitely.
And that again is just a bit of naivety, and it that those are the mistakes that we have in us now, which is a shame, because we haven't had that for a long time. But I wouldn't put too much on. I won't put too much on Amdouni, because in my opinion, he's not really played to. He's played around, and he kind of just does a lot of running. And then when he does get the ball, he's like, right, I can take my man on. So he does a good turn. And then he's kind of like, where now? Because that's the thing. When we do go forward, we do still lack a little bit of an identity with that. We look a bit better than what we have done, but we still lack a bit of identity going forward. I don't know what the best way for us to score is at the moment, to be honest with you. Do we check the byline and get crosses into the box? Do we play through the middle? Do we lump it up? Because right now I am at a bit of a loss. The goal that we scored, it was scrappy. It was out of nothing. We squared it across the box. He tried to shoot. He didn't play the ball back. It landed to Brownhill and deflected in goal. They're goals that you take in this situation, but there's no pattern of play to that. It's just,
So it was another situation where it was great play from Coley-Oshaw, but then after that, it gets a little bit scrappy. And again, another argument for Coley-Oshaw, the narrative still seems to be he's got no end product. When he shoots, and I said this, I think it was last week or the week before, when he shoots, he's so bad at shooting. Just stop shooting, mate. All right, but creating is good. He creates so much. Exactly. I don't know where this no end product argument comes from.
It's more that when you need the goal in the game, in my opinion, he's the guy to create it, but he's not the guy to score it, because he's had chances this season and he hasn't taken those chances. Like I say, I go back to the one last week where he's literally got the ball in the box, shoot, but instead he takes a touch, and that touch.
Yeah, there was that one against Palace. Yeah.
And it's that's what I mean by the end products. I don't necessarily even mean the chance creation, because his creativity is unmatched so far.
Yeah,
he's
fantastic. Nobody else.
He's the player that drives us forward and runs past 2 players and gets the ball in the box. The unfortunate thing for Coley-Oshaw is that pattern of play with him doing that, we don't have anyone in the box to do anything with it. The goal that we scored was fantastic, and agreed, we need someone who can link with to finish the chances. In my opinion, Amdouni can do that. We can play through Amdouni. We can get him the ball and him spread it out wide and then move forward as a unit. But that's what I'm saying. We don't play to him. So then we go down the wing. We're like, right, where do we go now? Give the ball back to him, because he's had to come all the way out over to the wing. And then we've got nobody in the centre. So you're like, well, where does he go? Plays it back to Vitinho, back to Bayer. And it's like, if you played through him, we'd be able to get the ball and be expansive and let him carry the ball and play it left and right. But we don't actually do that. So, like I say, I think he's in probably one of the harder positions in our team at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just looking at the who scored match ratings, and I know these should be taken with a pinch of salt, but I am absolutely astounded to see that Coley-Oshaw was the worst rated player on the Burnley side by them. I thought he played okay. I thought Vitinho. In fact, you know what? Before I say anything about Vitinho, because there's been some debate in the comments, I will try and quickly. You kind of half mentioned it earlier, Sam. How you would probably. I think you said you'd probably go with him from now on.
Yeah.
Where's it gone now? There we go. Johan the Great said, I think Vitinho is okay. So then, in fact, no. It started off with this one. Sue said, no idea why Vitinho is still playing. Then you on the great said, I think Vitinho is okay. And then Sue responded with, sorry, he's nowhere near this level, Johan. And then said, yeah, but who do we swap him with? Roberts, and he gets another clumsy red. And Sue says, it depends for me, because I'm not going to dig any of you two out here or say you are wrong. But I think it depends on the game for me. Vitinho, just to comment on screen, actually, for those listening on the podcast, Sue goes on to say Roberts is better, though. Roberts told Jan then signed a proper right back / left back. I probably agree with the latter half of that, if I'm honest. But Vitinho, for me, has got better over the season. Was it Chelsea where he was annihilated? I think it was, wasn't it, against Raheem?
That's a thrown-in game.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's my point.
And
like,
I think some people still look at that and think, oh, he was dreadful in that game, so he's not good enough. It was good against Palace, and he was good yesterday against Arsenal. When I saw him on the team sheet yesterday, I was a little worried. I thought, here we go again. It could be another Chelsea situation. But he actually played really well. I thought he played well, and I thought in that situation, I would now probably... I've always lent more towards Roberts. Every time I've done one of these predicted lineups or my lineup thing, I didn't bother doing one yesterday because so many people do it. It's probably pointless to keep doing it. But I always put Roberts in it. Whereas now, I'm probably putting Vitinho in it. Who are you going with, Sam?
I'd go Vitinho just simply for the argument that I gave at the start. Like, he's expansive, he's different, he's better going forward. Again, I agree. I agree with that comment. I mean, maybe not the end of it because that's a bit weird. But I think, like, for example, Roberts defensively, he is better, but he gives us nothing going forward. And that at the start of the season was our issue. So, of course, I can understand the other argument where it could sound contradictory. We have argued about, we're not defensively as good, but I'd rather, go down in the game and have a fullback. Like, for example, Roberts and Vitinho are basically playing the same role. I don't think Vitinho's actually been at fault for any of the goals so far. I just don't think he's as defensively sound as maybe Roberts is, which is fine. I can take that. But going forward, nobody can tell me that Connor Roberts has been anywhere near as good as he was in the Championship, even playing in that like fake centre mid role that he's been playing. He has been shocking in that role. His passing ability has been awful. He's probably given the ball away the most of any player in our team. Like, he hasn't got forward. He doesn't have the capability to run with the ball because he's not particularly, fast. Vitinho at least gives you the option of an overlap. He at least gives you the option of being able to cut inside and carry the ball a little bit. Like, he's still and he's got the pace to catch up with a player if they get past him. And I don't think he's actually been that bad. I would rather see Vitinho in there because at least he gives you some creativity going forward and he gives you another option. So if Johan's is on right-hand side of midfield, Johan's not going to do the running because he's not exactly the paciest winger in the world, is he? He's more of a technical player. If you've got an overlap from Vitinho, that's so much better than an overlap from Roberts. Because could you imagine them two get back against Martinelli? Honestly, it'd be like carrying two freight trains. Like, it's just not the same, is it? So I personally would go with Vitinho. I think Vitinho gives us an expansive. I think he suits the style of play that we want to go for because Charlie doesn't get forward as much. So Vitinho plays the Maatsen role of last season, and Vitinho is more suited to doing the Maatsen role of last season, whereas Connor Roberts or Charlie Taylor, in my opinion, aren't. So I actually think it's a lot suited better. But I also agree. I also do think that we should make a transfer in January, but until then, that's the conversation we're having. Not like, who do we have in 2 months' time? Because that's 2 months away. Like, right now, you'd have Vitinho, but in 2 months' time, 100% I'd rather have somebody else in the team. But until then, it's a choice between Vitinho or Connor Roberts. It's Vitinho. Right.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards Vitinho now. Just think like they offers something a little bit more. With terrible defensively as it is. And I do agree Roberts is slightly better defensively, but I don't think he's worth sticking in the team, like you say, for completely ruining that right-hand side. Just because of his better defense. Because he's not good defensively, he's just better. But he gives the ball away too much. So for how good defensively he is, he's creating all these issues with his poor distribution.
And like I said, in the nice possible way as well to that comment as well, like, I know what you're saying and you're entitled to your opinion, but like the headless chicken thing, it's like, in my opinion, like, you have to back that up with some kind of, substance. Like, there's nothing in there where you can turn around other than the Chelsea game where he was thrown in last minute because Conor Roberts got a red card, thrown into a team that was already performing absolutely terribly in the worst bit of form we'd had all season. And then that's the only game you can go off of. Well, we could all go off of all the comments that people have said about Sander Berge and go back to them first 3 games and look at how many times he gave the ball away, look at how many times he won the ball back, and look at how many times he got brought off at half-time. Like, you know, players get better. And in my opinion, Vitinho's getting a lot better. And against Arsenal yesterday, he didn't do anything wrong in that game at all. Like, you know, okay, maybe he lost the ball a couple of times. Our team loses the ball about 100 times a game at the moment. So you can't pin that on one player. And when it comes to Vitinho, like I say, in the Palace game, I thought Vitinho suited us down to the ground in that Palace game because he was doing what he did last season, where he was carrying the ball into midfield a little bit and spreading the play and getting us wide. And Charlie Taylor was able to carry the ball up. So I completely understand what you're saying, and you know, you're entitled to your opinion. But I also think that's just like that's a quick off the whim comment with no actual substance to back it up.
Fair enough. I want to get into the positives because we were better yesterday, and you did say earlier, we'll get into the positives, and we have slightly. We've touched on them. Burge playing well. We've talked about Vitinho playing well. But obviously, we changed the system yesterday. It's normally more of a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, depending on how we're setting up and who we're setting up against. But it kind of went back to 4-4-2 yesterday, especially off the ball. What did you make of the new system? Because we did look better defensively from open play, didn't we? But the issues were the same issues that we've been seeing throughout the season. They just were then concentrated into the set pieces argument because that were the only way that they could really get at us, that they could expose the weakness of the headers, because it's not really been exposed too much in the season. As somebody said earlier, I think it was Solon that said, it's the first header goal we've conceded in the Premier League this season. But obviously they could then concentrate it to corners. So we're better through open play, but set pieces, the worst I've seen this season, to be fair. So a better system. What would you want to do going forward? You want to go back to 4-4-2 and play like we did against Arsenal, or you think we'll go back to the 4-2-3-1 and try and go at teams, especially when you're seeing the teams that we've got coming up?
I think we've got nothing to lose now with trying to go at teams, to be fair. Like, I think in games like that, it makes sense. I think we were naive to try and go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the league with the formations that we were doing. I think sometimes you do in the Premier League just need to try and stay in the game and hope that you can get something. And I know that sounds so ludicrous because that's what we, used to hate about, or not hate, but show a displeasure towards, when Dyche was in charge. It was kind of 65 minutes doing nothing and then one moment, but you got 1-0 wins, you got 2-0 wins. Now we're in a position where when you play the top teams, try that. But if we have a style of playing and an identity that we want to play with, I'd rather stick to that. I'd rather go at West Ham, after the international break, and I'd rather try and go at them. I really would, because they're the games now where you've got nothing to lose. Like when you come up against your Cities and your Liverpools and your Arsenals and stuff like that, fair enough. They're the teams that can thump you 4 or 5-0.
Yeah.
I would rather not. I would rather go to West Ham and show something going forward, because they are winnable games now. As much as that narrative seems to have fallen away about, certain teams and, top teams and stuff like that. I do think that we need to start looking at games like West Ham and saying we need to win those games. We need to get points. I think from our next 5 games, I think 7 for me is the minimum that we have to get. If we don't get 7, I think that next round of 18, 19 fixtures is just going to be horrible. It really is, because you can't go a full season. You can't go the first 18. Do you remember when we went down and we played the first 18 games and the only game we won was Brentford?
Yeah.
And we all came away from it now I have no positivity in any game that we play other than Brentford. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want to get to where we've played every team once and turn around and go, right, so the only team I now feel positive that we can beat is Luton. And even then, I still don't feel positive that we could beat Luton, because Luton look all right at the moment. Luton are making it hard for teams. Sheffield United are making it hard for teams. The issue that I still think that we have is we are making it too easy for teams. However, The positive signs have been there the last 2 weeks. And the players clearly think that there's something there. Brownell says it all the time, you know, on his Instagram, that it will come. And I think to be fair, that Bournemouth win last night was like a dagger through art, really. But
you went full Yorkshire then, dagger through
art. But I do think the positive signs are there, and I do still back this team to come out flying against some teams. We just need to stick to the formula, like in the Palace game. Like, just go at teams, just have a go. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Even in that game, as much as we didn't have like a pattern of play again, because we didn't, like we said it last week, we didn't look like we were going to score goals. We could have played that game for another 2 hours and not scored, but it was so much better than watching us just pass the ball to the other team. Like, it was so much better than that. So if we can do that and keep making it a little bit better, I do think we will get results. And I do think it's between that bottom four. Because like Everton as well, like, what are they on at the minute? Like, why are they pulling results away? Like, how are they winning games? Like, it's just so annoying. Like, and what we're in a position now is we've drifted to the point where it's now 4 teams. We need to get close to Bournemouth.
Yeah, I agree. It's 4 teams.
Yeah, and we need to get close to Bournemouth. And the only way we do that is by getting a win, because they've picked up points in a game that they shouldn't have picked up points in. So that's always been my argument as well. You know, when we've done this thing where everyone's like, "Oh, look at the team that we've played. Bournemouth beat Newcastle. So what are you on about?" Like, we can beat teams if we play better. So that's what we need to do.
If we play better.
We need to build on that Palace game and build on the game against Arsenal, and we will pick results up. But it's just long, innit? Just long.
It is. And I've brought the fixtures on screen now. So the next fixtures, obviously, international break for the next 2 weeks. Thankfully, I say 2 weeks, so obviously only 1 week, but 2 weeks in total. Thankfully, I have a weekend where I don't have to worry about Burnley. I might do something I enjoy rather than going to the match. But then after that, it's 2 home games against West Ham, who are good at set pieces, as someone in the comments said. I can actually show you now. So there you go. West Ham, and then after that, it's Sheffield United at home, then Wolves away. I know Wolves look good, but we can get something there. Brighton, that's a worry. Then we've got the Dyche Derby again, Everton. Then we've got Fulham just before Christmas, and then it gets back into a couple of difficult games with Liverpool at home and then Villa away, and then you've got Luton. So I include the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The next 9 games, we've got to be picking up quite a few points for us to. If we get to this Luton game and we still haven't won another match, then you can all start packing your bags and get ready for the Championship, because it ain't going to happen. So the next 2 we've got to really target. We've got to get at the very, very, very minimum 4 points, but I'd want 6. Obviously, I want to win every match. But then obviously, in fact, include the Wolves game in that. I think minimum 5, hopefully 7. Brilliant.
But that's 9. What I mean. Like, if you group it into the 5 games and you go West Ham, Sheffield United, Wolves, Brighton, Everton, right?
Yeah.
9's the target, but I'd take 7, because in those run of games, 2 wins should come.
Yeah.
On paper, we should be able to put in a performance against Sheffield United, put in a performance against Wolves, put in a performance against Everton, right? If we come out of those games and we've got like 1 win, 1 draw, like, in my opinion, that's already lose. That's already like relegation form. You can't go into games like that against teams like that and only hope for 4 or only get 4 points, 1 win out of 5, because they're big games now. Like, we've had the whole bit at the start where we've played the big teams and everybody's said, oh, look at who we've played and yada, 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 whatever. Like, now this is the point where all that spiel just completely goes out the window. Like, we now have to get points from these 5 games. If we don't get points from these 5 games, there's absolutely no coming back from it. Like,
I think you can include
those final 18 games, we could win 6 and would still be too far adrift. Like, so we need to pick up points in those games, and I think we have the capabilities to do so. Like we said, the positive signs are there. We are getting better. We are getting players back from injury. I'm hoping that Benson and Zaroury start to play a part because, you know, they were key reasons as to why we went up. They were some of our best players. And I do feel like with with Koleosho coming in and playing so well and things like that, I do think that people have kind of forgotten how good they were. They were two of our best players last season.
Yeah.
I would like to see them at least be in contention for getting back into the team. I'd like to see Trezor kick on and really try.
Yeah, he needs to show something to be able to get into the team, though, does he?
Yeah.
Like I say, he needs to kick on.
But then again, I also do think that is hard to do in 6, 7, 8 minutes at the end of a game. You're losing 2-0 in.
Yeah.
Right. I do think that's hard. Like, it's not the Vidra treatment because it isn't yet, but some of those players are getting cameo appearances and being like, right, here you go. But we're already losing like 3-1. So it's like, what are you wanting them to change like in 8 minutes? But I think we have a lot of opportunities now to really kick on. And like I say,
do you think we will? We have opportunities, but do you think we will?
I think we have. I think we've shown positive enough signs now for me to go into those games and at least have an ounce of confidence in me. I think beforehand, going into some of the games that were seen as winnable, I genuinely think I have been the most, and Liam said it brilliantly, like I have been the most disconnected I've been with Burnley in a long time.
Yeah.
From the perspective of I didn't feel like the team that was going out, I didn't feel positive with it. I could pick 3 or 4 players out and moan about them for ages. I'd go into the game and I'd be like, if we perform anywhere near like we did last time, it's not going to be great. However, the positive signs really, really are there now. And that's the thing that I'm hopeful for now is can we get these positive performances that we've had and just build on them? And I am hopeful that we can, and I do think we have the ability to do so. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I do agree with you. I brought the league table in, as you can see. I do agree with you. I do think it's the bottom 4. However, I think Fulham are capable of getting dragged into it, but they've got some very good players. Obviously, Paulinho, Willian. I think Forest's last win shocked everybody. Who was it against? That was the one. But I mean, I guess that's the argument that you're going to make now. Like, yes, they might be poor, but they can play Villa at home and dig out a 2-0 win. Bournemouth can play Newcastle at home and dig out a 2-0 win. Look at us. L. Not a town in Wales, but it's Burnley's form, and I do think Forest and Fulham could get dragged into it.
Yeah,
but
I do.
Just based on the fact that they can win games, they probably won't.
But just look at Forest form though. Like they've only come away with no points once.
Yeah, and that was against Liverpool.
That's my point. Like we're in games getting convincingly beat. We're not just going into games and it were close. It were 2-1. We were in it. We could have scored. You're 4-1 down in 56 minutes, and you're almost sat there like, why am I even watching it? Why am I watching this? Because and then by the time you come off, you're like, oh, it was 5-2. We scored again. I watch the games, and I used to go back and watch the highlights on a night and just sit in bed and just be like, how unreal that. That was so good. Or, I still on repeat watch that 3-0 at home to Blackburn. Like still, because it was such an
pretty sad
moment. And I was so glad that I was able to go to it as well. And I was so glad that I'm able to look back on this year. I don't even look. I don't even go back and like we lose like 5-1. I'm like, right, forget about that then. Don't look at that ever again. Like that's gone out of my thought process now. So it's like, I think we've got the ability to do so. We've got the games now to do so. There's now no excuses. Like, if we come away in those games and don't perform and don't pick up points in those games, that is the epitome of relegation form. And that, I think at the end of those 5 games, if we're not either back in and amongst the fold or at least close, then I'll have resigned myself to, it's relegation, build for the championship, and enjoy. Because I enjoyed the Championship last season. It was fun.
I can't say I didn't, obviously, but there's always a worry that you end up like Stoke. I don't think we will. If we do go down, depends on what the situation is with the manager. One last thing before we go, because you said you were feeling a long one. It's been nearly an hour and a half now. So apologies to all the podcasters that have had to split it into 3-4 trips. But it's always a good chat. It's always a good therapy session. What I noticed yesterday, which is probably because we played better, is there weren't many company outshouts. In fact, I don't think I saw one. Whereas after the last few games, it's been getting a little bit louder. Obviously, I know you still say ridiculous, but just get everyone comments in. Anybody who thinks company should be out, or what you think you should do. But why do you think yesterday was not as loud with those shouts? Do you think it's because we played better and there was signs of improvement? But I thought we were better against Palace, just with silly mistakes. Same against yesterday, but the silly mistakes didn't come from open play, so they don't look as, I don't know, maybe as the manager isn't ridiculed enough for the system. But I found it interesting that there were no company outshouts yesterday, despite a fifth defeat in a row.
I think that what people are now seeing is positive signs, like you say. That run of like 4 or 5 games, you couldn't pluck a positive out of it at all. You just couldn't.
Agreed.
Like you were watching games, you were watching us get beat, and you were watching us get beat before the game had even kicked off. Like, and that as a fan is soul destroying. Like, you couldn't think of anything worse than getting your stream up or whatever, or getting your going to game and sitting down in your seat and whistle blows and 2.5 minutes in game you're 1-0 up and you still sat there like we're gonna get sent for 6 here. And then you play Tottenham and you lose 5-1 or 5-2, whatever it was, and you're just like I've especially for me as well. Like, I'm not even just saying, all I can talk about is personal opinion, but I have to travel 1 hour and 10 minutes to get there, and then I travel 1 hour and 10 minutes back, and I sit for 90 minutes and watch a game, and I get there early because my dad likes to miss all traffic, so I'm there 2 hours early anyway. So my full day is based on that 90 minutes. And if I go into that 90 minutes and lose 5-2 and feel like I've lost before kickoff, what actually is the point? You genuinely sit there and you're like, what is going on? So now you're getting more positive performances. So people are then going into games feeling like, there's something in it. We went to the Emirates and it wasn't easy for them until, they got corners. And to be fair, it wasn't an easy game for them. It was 1-1 for about 40 seconds. But we were making it difficult for them. So yeah, I think the fact that there is positive signs there, I think it's brilliant. And like that comment says, company's on a 5-year plan, not just one season and one bad season. I completely agree with that. Like, we are in with Vincent Kompany for the long haul as Burnley fans, for as long as he wants to be around. Like, that's the thing, for as long as he wants to be around, because he's proven that he's a good manager. It's just right now, I think he's getting found out a little bit in the Premier League with his lack of experience. But I also think, like we've said before, that lack of experience comes from top to bottom. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
We have a lack of experience on the pitch, a lack of experience as a manager, a lack of experience in Premier League coaching now, clearly, and a lack of, nouns in the transfer market, and
lack of experience in the boardroom as well, I think, at the minute.
So
for as much as good as I think Alan Pace is, I think now we're in the Premier League again. It's all just been fine-tuned. Sorry, under a magnifying glass of some of the decisions that have gone wrong. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's something that is part of football. You have to be open to criticism, because you're in a sport that is so in the public eye where everybody knows everything. And especially if you support the club and you're all over Twitter, Clarets, we know everything within about 30 seconds. So I think we're in a position now where, there is a chance of kicking on, and we are seeing the positive signs. And I think that is something to get behind. We have had some positive performances. Okay, the results haven't gone our way. We lost 2-0 and 3-1. But in those games, I still think we've looked better. And I think as soon as we can see a consistent team with players that deserve to be in the starting lineup and not just thrown in, then I think we will start to see results. But these next 5 games are a huge tell for that.
Yeah, like I said, I think 6 as well. I think you can throw Fulham into it as well.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Last one from me then. I'll just keep your comments coming in, and I'd like you all to answer this one now. I know a few people have been saying in the comments that they're about 20 minutes behind. I don't know how that works on a live. I thought when you joined the live on YouTube, you just got to the live moment. But how are you with 20? You want to look at your internet connection. Man of the match shouts. I tweeted in the first half it was James Trafford. I do retract that. Sorry. Although, as I've already said, for those of you joining late, I don't think he's solely to blame for any of the goals. Probably should be stronger with the second, but as we discussed earlier, you can go back. The entire defensive unit needs to do better. Man of the match for me, I'm probably going to go Sander Berg. Played well, still playing in a way out of position. Yes, he's getting a lot better now. But I'd go Sander Berg for the man of the match. I'm shocked to see Coley Oshaw's rating so low. I thought he wasn't too far behind, in my opinion. Who else played all right? We've mentioned Vitinho. The defenders played well in open play, but they kind of ruined everything on the corners. I'm going to go. Sorry?
Yeah, Brownhill wasn't horrendous, but
no,
I don't think you could possibly put him in there over Sander Berg, because if Sander Berg,
I think Sander Berg was the better of the two.
Yeah, so I would also probably say Sander Berg. To be fair, Vitinho's not the worst shout in the world, just simply for the fact that nothing actually was really his fault, and he actually did quite well nullifying Martinelli for a lot of the game. But yeah, I'd go Sander Berg.
Yeah, fair enough. Most of the comments coming in, you'll have seen him on screen, but Jean Faltner, I don't know if I said Jean. Sorry, John. It's definitely John. I know it full definitely is. John says Vitinho. Solent says Berg. Sue says Goodmanson. Ginger Ale says Sander Berg was a letdown with his headers. Who would you go for then? Oh, there's his comment. He says Charlie Taylor. Solent says apart from the goal, Brownhill was poor. Interesting.
I don't think it was horrendous. I just think when you're pipping them against each other. Yeah. Like the obvious answer is, Berg was better. But yeah, I like I say, I think it was a better performance. I don't actually necessarily have as many negative things to say about individuals as I normally would, other than
which is a good sign. But I think it's easy to hide in that system. It's easier to not make a mistake in that system.
It is
on the flip side.
100%. But
go on.
No, I was just going to say, but like I say, the signs are there, and it's just building on performances now. Like we've already played a lot of games now, and it is starting to get a little bit like, if you're getting cut adrift, it is starting to be a bit worrying.
Yeah,
but
which we kind of are in a way. Not fully adrift. We've put the Premier League table on already, but Bournemouth's win yesterday sees us quite far away from Bournemouth.
It takes us a bit of a way away, but
yeah,
like I say, the signs are there, so I'm still hopeful.
I agree. There's a Bournemouth fan in the chat. We will end it here because it's been longer than an hour and a half now. The longest one we've ever done. He says, do you think you'll get relegated? No, you can sod off. We're going to finish above you. Thank you for that. Fuck the cherries. Solent says, I don't rate Brownhill as captain. Give it to Berg. They won't give it to Berg, mate. I've been here 2 minutes. But we'll have that debate another time, mate. Jack Cork's the captain, to be fair. The club captain just never gets in the team. But Sam, thank you for coming on, mate. It's always good to have a chat with you on Sunday morning.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Anytime.
Afternoon now. It's been that long. It's afternoon. And obviously, we did it a little later this week as well because of obviously with the minute silence at 11 a.m. Obviously, I didn't want to be on the stream at that point. So we've extended into the afternoon, but football starts in an hour. I don't know who's on TV, but there's 4 games. So I'll watch some of them. Then you'll be watching the NFL later. There you go.
Life, mate. Just loving life.
Yeah.
Sundays are an absolutely perfect day.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Sam, thanks for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure. If you've joined the stream later on, you should know by now that once the stream ends, It starts, it goes on, it processes through YouTube, it becomes a standalone video. You can watch it as and when. And if you've joined it and you're about to go out or you need to go to work tomorrow, then you can listen to the podcast, because I will upload it pretty much straight away as soon as I'm finished. But Sam, like I said, thank you. Everybody for commenting, thank you. Everybody for watching, thank you. Just a reminder, Casual Minds Matter, casualmindsmatter.co.uk, is it? Or is it .com? I'll just quickly get the sheet out. If you want to chat, it's .com, casualmindsmatter.com. And then head over there. We are teaming up with them to try and promote what they're doing and the stuff that they do. And of course, if you are looking for a new car, please head to Wave Car Finance. They'll sort you out. They sorted me out. They're absolutely fantastic. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks everybody for commenting. Big thanks to Sam for coming on. And we will see you next time.
Bye.